All right, we are live. Hey guys, welcome to the $7 to $100 million podcast. I'm your host, Tim Warren. I'm the CEO here at Helium, joined by Danielle Sfire. She is our marketing manager and all things marketing and admin and sales management and everything else that we need done. And everything. And Paul DeMott, who is our wizard of technology and, what's a good word for ads? The ads astronomer. Yes,
ads astronomer.
The ads astronomer.
I use astrology actually to make ads decisions.
Oh no, that's not a good idea. Don't go down that path. That's risky. The ads admiral. What's another word with a? Architect. Architect maybe is better.
Yeah, that sounds better.
That's a good one. Yeah.
What number podcast are we on?
17.
Let's go. It's almost top 1%.
Yeah, we're so close.
We're still going. All right, so here's what I want to talk about today. I have an interesting conversation that I was having with myself, and then I was like, let's bring this to the podcast. The two thinkings that I have. Number one is I keep hearing simplicity scales. Like simplicity is what scales. And obviously this month we've been testing different pricing options, trying to run these tests. But what I'm also realizing is it creates a lot more complexity. Where when there's less complexity, salespeople are like not sure exactly what to recommend. Right? When there's like too many options, right? It's like if all you have is a putter, you'll just putt, right? If you have 20 clubs, it's like which club do I use and when, and it just makes it more complex, right? Better for experts, worse for everybody else. So there's two things that I was thinking of. Number one is simplicity. We should probably at some point, the question is how long do we run the test for until we just like, this is what we're gonna do, boom, 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 boom. And then that way there's not confusion with the team. The second thing that I want to talk about today, though, Paul and Danielle, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, is I actually, this idea of limiting beliefs, right? Limiting beliefs and like, you have to kill the sacred cow, right? If you're like going to get to the next level, right? What are the things that you're believing that are holding you back? And I want to throw this out there. Our whole strategy in the last, probably since we started the business, was how do we get to as high of a monthly reoccurring revenue as we can, right? We're shooting for that MRR. But I'm actually starting to wonder now, is MRR the right goal even? Go with me here. So let's say that we sell, and maybe it's for size of customer too, but if we go and we sell a $3,000 a month program, okay, is that really the right move for these businesses? So I'm thinking about a company, right? So it's like they need ads, they need LSAs, they need SEO, they need a new website, they need leads, they have all the stuff that they need, right? So they need all these things. Then we go in and we're like, all right, for $3,000 a month, which is less than you could hire a good employee for, right? We'll help you with all this stuff, okay? And then it's like, all right, cool. Then we get started. And then they're like, well, can you meet and help me with this? Sure. Can you meet and help me with this? Sure. Can you meet and help me with this? Sure. And so we kind of get into these scenarios where if somebody pays us $20,000 a month, it's profitable because that would be a high paid employee, even if you're doing it full time. Someone pays you $3,000 a month, that'd be a low paid employee, right? And so you end up with working like that's like $36,000 a year, right? Like that'd be a very low paid employee. We couldn't hire people like good talent full time for that, right?
Just one thing to interject too, I was thinking about this. I was buying something recently that I bought I think I bought it like 4 years ago, and I was like blown away with like how much more expensive it was now.
Yeah.
Like it had doubled in price.
Yeah.
And also, if we think about it, when we started Helium, it was not crazy that a college student graduating would start at a salary of 32 to 36K.
Yeah.
Like that was actually pretty normal.
Yeah.
And like I remember even being in college and they were like advertising like, hey, if you go down this route, you could start in the 40s. And now that sounds like absolutely terrible.
Crazy.
But now it's like college grads are starting at 65 often, 55 maybe in some cases, all the way up to like 60 or 75. So I also think like we sold these packages at a time before hyperinflation. And like a $3,000 package then may have done a lot more. Like links were cheaper.
Yeah,
the
like
employees.
work was cheaper,
Yeah.
time of people was cheaper, everything was cheaper.
Yeah, and then if you think about it, we actually kind of went back and started selling like even lower end packages towards the end of last year
Right.
and beginning of this year. And so those would actually, if you account for inflation, be like going back to like a $1,200 package in some instances.
Hmm.
So also, have we not shifted enough from that, or is that just what happened in the marketplace? Like SEO packages really didn't shift up relative to the inflation. I don't know. I mean, they should have because of the cost of everything, but maybe because of outsourcing and stuff like that. So
No,
not
I
to
mean,
throw us off track, but
I was doing outdoor lighting for my house, and I bought like just wire, like just black outdoor low voltage wire, like relatively, like you would have like the wire that would be on like a vacuum cleaner, right? Like not a expensive type thing. And 150 feet of that, just like a little roll of it, was like, I think it used to be like maybe $50, and now it's like $150. It was triple the price. I looked and I was like, that's $1 a foot, right?
yeah.
Which was super expensive comparatively. And I'm like, wow, what happened? And I looked at the price of copper, and it has like just gone up like crazy.
Mhm.
And it reflected in the price of the product. And I still bought it, but I was like blown away by how expensive it was. I was like, that has tripled in price. So Paul, here I guess here's the first thing that I want to throw out there is with the pricing model. So post COVID and all the changes and how much everything's gone up and whatever. So we're shooting for this continuity, right? Continuity, I think, makes sense if people go for a really long time, right? Or if there's a decent monthly profit and they go for a really long time. You know what I'm wondering though is with just like the variability of these accounts. So some of these small accounts are going to churn way before they get to the 25 month, and then some of them are going to go really really long. Also, even if they don't churn, if there's tons more work in the first 6 or 8 months of these accounts, and we're just used to kind of like eating that as part of getting the thing going. But then how often do we do those 6 or 8 months and then they expect that level of work to continue, right? And so then the work never goes down, it never drops, and actually becomes really profitable, right?
Mhm.
So but also if we came to these accounts and said, look, everything's doubled COVID, it's 6,000 a month, those accounts are probably just not going to buy, right? Like they're probably just not going to buy because like that's just too expensive, so then they just don't buy. And then the problem is because it's a commodity business, there's so many people who offer this. We could just say, look, it's 6,000 a month, but then they're like, but I could just go buy it over here, right? So the problem is they could go buy it at another store. I could go to Menards or see some other store, and if the wire is $50, I'm just going to buy it there. I'm not like so loyal to Lowe's. I'm going to pay 3 times the price. I don't really care. I just want the wire.
Mhm.
And I think a decent amount of the buyers would view it this way too. They're like, don't really care. I just want the thing. So here's 2 questions I want to pose. Number 1, is the model the problem? This model of trying to get everybody on a recurring number, this is what you're going to pay every month, is that model the problem? Meaning, would we be more profitable if we just came to the table and said, look, your program is going to cost, let's say there's a $5,000 setup fee and it's $3,000 a month, and this is what it's going to be. That is a $41,000 program. Okay. It's a $41,000 program. We're going to need $21,000 in the first 2 months. We're going to need this much in these months. And then it becomes this kind of ongoing, because this is how the work goes. And this is how you have to pay it. And this is what the program has to look like, and blah, 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 blah. And it was billed the way that we actually need to collect the profit, versus now it's like profits here, our cost is here, right? And then we hope that eventually the profit line overtakes it. But that's a lot of future hope and writing on, which I think is probably what's hurting us. It's probably unwise.
Yeah, and also like we can do everything right, perform really well, deliver an amazing product just for the longer time. The longer they're a client, the more likely they're acquired, that they turn over their staff.
Right.
And it just wipes out everything. So it's like we're taking this gamble that like just a decent percentage of the time does not pay off, not because of the quality of the service.
Right,
That's
because I'm actually wondering if monthly reoccurring is harder to sell because it's a monthly recurring program. So now I got to think about I'm going to pay this every month versus here's this fee that I'm going to pay, this one-time fee, right? Does that actually create like, and this is actually a question I'd have to research and we have to test, but is a one-time higher price more or less palatable than an ongoing fee, right? Because if you came to me and said, Tim, pay me $35,000 now, I'm like, okay, what's the thing that I need? What's that for? Versus, Tim, pay me $3,000 a month ongoing forever. Then I got to look at the budget and be like, can I pay $3,000 a month ongoing forever? What does that really look like? Obviously, for me as the business, it's better to get the $35,000 now because then I have the revenue in, right? And then whether you do the stuff or you churn or whatever, I've got the revenue in the door, right? Versus we take 12 months to collect the revenue.
I think it's actually more like I don't know if you ever got the message, but the one sales rep from Hermosi like I think he did like an iPhone voice message.
I don't think I ever got it.
Yeah, I'll have to play it for you because he's specifically kind of challenging the notion that just collecting more money up front is the same as like having a one-to-one payback. So his argument was something along the lines of like, well, if you still have to do all the work, then there's not really like collecting the money faster doesn't necessarily solve anything for you unless you're collecting it more profitably. But potentially what it solves for is is just the reduction in churn. So like if you get people that buy stuff up front are way less likely to churn over that time frame. So his point is like the profitability of the deal does not change whether you collect the money up front or not. And so it's gonna like you still have to service the business, but maybe the big benefit is actually the churn reduction that comes from it. So I'll have to play it for you. I can't recall it completely, but
no, it makes sense. Like if the couch, if you pay $100,000 for the couch and the couch still costs $80,000 to deliver, right? Then it's only right. It depends on if they pay in payment plans or however they pay for it. It's still going to cost $80,000. So there's only $20,000 potential.
Yeah. So like his fear, what he was saying is like the danger is like you got all this money up front and you spend it on ads, but it wasn't profit. And so now you're servicing the business, but that like months later, you're feeling the impact of not having the fees to pay for it because you've essentially taken all the revenue, thrown it in the ads. Now, I think it's like a little bit more complicated than that because there's a benefit to collecting more upfront. But you still have to pay the team to service it the whole time. What I was going to say though, is that, like if we look at SaaS businesses, it's like so common nowadays that you go to their pricing page and the main price that they advertise is this price that's a monthly price, but like is dependent on you paying all up front. So they take the full amount, divide it by 12, and they're like, this is your price.
Right.
But that's only if you pay for it all up front. That's what the monthly cost is. But then if you want to go month to month, then it's quite a bit more expensive. So that strategy has been like tried and tested. And I think it works really well because if you're more conservative or maybe not more conservative, but more skeptical,
more
willing to eat the extra reoccurring fees to test the product out. So you have that as an option. But if you're confident and you're committed, you pay all up front. And then the churn on that for the SaaS business is way better. And like SaaS businesses deal with churn on a totally different level than us. Like it's like the churn numbers are way higher. So that's a good strategy to reduce churn for a SaaS business. So that's something we could consider too, is something like that. But like, I think the point on it though, is that like SaaS at least acknowledges that there's kind of like these two different types of buyers. And there are a lot of buyers that aren't willing to put a lot of money down because they're still skeptical. But if you could get their, like if they could kind of like, take a little bit of a risk in like a month or two, they may become a more committed customer eventually. So they would rather have those people than not have those people, basically, which is kind of the same thing we're talking about.
Yeah. So I wonder if we can build a spreadsheet on this and actually test this out. I think what would actually be like what we should probably do next, Paul, is build and start to run some pricing model calculations of what if we had a high profit, low priced item that we could sell that would sell quickly and efficiently and effectively, right? That had high profit. And then what if we sold that and what would that thing look like? And realistically, how long would it go? And what would the churn be? Then if we sold the higher priced, like very high service program, right? We know what we don't want to sell anymore is middle priced high service, right? Because they're very unprofitable, right? Like just because you offer too much service for the price. And people want that, but they churn like crazy because they don't actually realize the value they're getting and they want to pay for it and whatever. So I think we should model these out and kind of see what they do. But ultimately, I think this is where we need to start doing pricing modeling calculation, is like understanding and figuring out what would the close rates be, how long would they go, how much profit would we actually generate. And I'm starting to wonder if the better thing to do would not be to sell this thing as a, like, instead of selling this as a monthly ongoing recurring, what if we broke it into kind of two buckets, right? What if we said, like, so the Hormozy analogy, right? There's the joining the gym and using the gym. There's a 6 week weight loss challenge, right? Hey, how are your leads now? Nah, my leads are bad. Like, leads are trash. Okay. Do you want to fix your leads and get your leads working better? Yeah, I want to fix my leads and get my leads working better. Okay. What would you need to do that? Right? Well, we need to fix our website. We need SEO. We need ads. We need this. We need to fix it. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Get all the stuff we got to build and set up for you. Right. Okay. Well, that's not a $5,000 a month ongoing. That's a $60,000 project we need to do to come in here and do boom, 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 boom. And it's done over a short window because all these things need to happen. Then once that's all set up, we need to sell you an ongoing campaign once you trust us and you like us and we've done whatever. Like, that's probably how we should be pricing this stuff, is hire us to come in and build and grow and fix the stuff that's broken. Then the ongoing comes once you trust us and you like us and you know us and we know what you're looking for and how big you want to get and how much your cost per leads are and like getting all that stuff figured out. That's probably what it should be, right? Then when we sell a deal, it's going to be profitable because we've already built in the profit, but we're also collecting the revenue much faster. So we're not getting into a position where somebody is like, yep, sure, let's sign up for the 3K a month. And then they're basically bleeding us dry, right? Over that time frame. Because this is one thing I've heard from the service team is the profitability of the client accounts does not necessarily tie how much they pay. It's tied to the person that we service. It's tied to the actual customer and how demanding they are and how like squeaky wheel and how much they ask for and how unhappy they are with things and how much they always require extra service, right? And so all that just comes down to they're just getting more stuff for free, right? Versus the more chill people get less stuff for free. But we can't rely on the scalability of our business based on people being chill, right?
Yeah. I'd rather also reward the chill people than punish them for being chill.
Right, exactly. So what I think I'm saying is if we map this out, I bet you the easy to sell, low cost, high profit thing sold a lot is going to probably be really good. Like, that's probably going to work really well because it's going to be quick, easy sold, like lower work, high value. Or the other option where we've got stuff in the middle priced, but it's paid as projects. It's built and paid as projects, so we get the money a lot quicker, and we guarantee we actually collect the profit. Because that's what I think is the part that's concerning me, is when we sell these, let's say, $2,500 to $6,000 a month accounts, and they don't go for 12 years. If they go for 8 or 9 years or whatever, we make profit. But if they go 25 months or 26 months or 28 months, right? We may not, if the payback period took a while, we may not actually profit on that account, right? For like a year and a half, right? Or if they're really needy and they keep asking for extra stuff, we may never profit on the account, which that's obviously broken. So could we fix that by just having the payments be upfront? Then we accomplish a couple of things. One, there's the gasp when they see the price where it's like, oh, snap. It's like, well, it's not a monthly number, right? Number two, I mean, we could even ask clients, like, would you prefer to pay us on a monthly ongoing basis forever? Or would you prefer to pay to start with a one-time project, get to know Helium, see how we operate, who we are, make sure we deliver, and we come in and we fix this stuff, and then we figure out from there what you need on an ongoing basis once we've got the ship built and things are up and running or whatever. I guess it's like, do we have to be so dogmatic about it's all just monthly recurring, or it's just project? What if the real power was in the combination of the two, just viewing it as revenue collected? How much revenue are we collecting from the client, right?
Yeah. So I think this is an interesting idea. Well, I guess like a couple things I'll share, or just thinking through this, because like we've done different versions of this in the past, and so I think there's like pros and cons, and so this may be a new iteration on anything we've ever tried, but like one downside to this is that a project has a like kind of defined finish line,
Right.
and that means that you need to be ready to kind of you have to resell the value anytime the finish line ends. So one downside to a project is it really forces a fair bit of effort to kind of resell them versus why we switched back to a reoccurring package is, you don't have to, it kind of continues. It doesn't need to be constantly resold to them. And so like it kind of triggers it triggers a moment where it's easy to opt out. So it's kind of like if Planet Fitness at 6 months was like, you ready for something for like the Black Card membership? Your initial membership is done now. So, and then it's like, okay, we got to call this person. Like they never actually attended our gym the whole time.
Right.
Now we're like trying to get them to join and subscribe. But they're like, I actually never used Planet Fitness when I was a member. So I'm not interested in your Black Card membership. So that's like my first concern about it. So that would be like one of the cons. Obviously, the pros are that we could in theory collect more money up front. We could have a really defined objective that we're trying to accomplish. But that con could be like it'd be long before we'd actually experience it. So if we switch to this process, whatever that date that we switch to it, it's probably like a year before we can tell if that pricing change was beneficial or harmful to our business.
Is there research out there that we could find on what makes the agency model the most profitable?
Yeah, it's worth looking into.
I bet you there is. I bet you there are studies, like there are like research studies done. Like, I mean, retail does this all the time, right? Like, how do you drive the most profit in a retail store, and where do you put the bread, milk, and cheese, and where do you put the TV, and where do you put the whatever? Yeah. I actually wonder if we don't work backwards from what is by data the most profitable agency model, and then we figure out how to make that model work for our business, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think like our underlying assumption, which you know what they say about assumptions, our underlying assumption was that if we had a lot of recurring revenue, right, like just more and more recurring revenue, that's what's going to really drive profit. But that's not necessarily the case. And I actually heard a podcast the other day with a guy who said they went from 25 million to 50 million in revenue, and he said they were just as profitable at 50 million as they were at 25, like the same amount of like actual amount of profit, right? And he was like, we doubled in size, but we didn't grow profit at all. And it's because the incremental costs of the business to get from 25 to 50 million ate up all the new profit, right? And so he was like, it was actually more profitable at 25 than it was at 50 million. And so the profit didn't scale as the business scaled, right?
Yeah.
So I actually wonder for us, I think there's the really high end agencies who offer like, they're like the one of a kind, true experts in a space where it's like they're getting called by Pepsi and Coke and Nike and those guys, and they're demanding $1 million retainers and stuff. They're profitable for sure, right? Mm-hmm. So there's those. Then I think you have the like on the bottom end, you have the SEO agencies who do literally nothing and just sell $500 a month programs, and they do absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
they're not good businesses. They're trash.
Yeah, I liked. I don't know if you listened to that whole podcast, but like I liked what he said. It was like there's kind of like this continuum from like very broy to it's like, how do I deliver a product that just doesn't get me sent to jail or
You're right.
prison?
I heard that part.
And then
The
versus like
marketers.
someone who's like, I want the
Yeah.
absolute best product always delivered in all cases, and
Right.
they're actually just procrastinating scaling their company, which I completely understood that. Like that
The
makes
product
sense.
founder versus the marketing founder.
Yeah.
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 I heard that part. I thought that was hilarious. Like the marketer is like just trying to make the product just good enough so he doesn't go to prison.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's all scale. And there's the product founder who's like just, tweaking the product incessantly. And it's like, just
Yeah.
scale the business, dude.
Well, I think
I
it's
know.
also so true that like you kind of need you need customers, you need volume of customers to also understand how to improve your product. Like you can't actually do that in like a vacuum. You're just speculating and stuff. So that was a good I thought they shared a lot of cool stuff on that podcast. But yeah, no, I think what I was gonna say is I actually think a really good exercise, and I can do this today, is just like let's like run a deep research on the models that businesses are using and which ones are the most profitable, because there probably is like an abundance of information written on this that we've just never explored.
We just never explored it. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think, Paul, if you go back, I'd actually be curious on this. If you went back and looked at some of our customers, like some of our early customers who are spending like $2K a month, right? Because when we first started, we just did $1,000 a month SEO, month to month. We made it super easy for people to sign up, right? And then we went really, really high upstream in enterprise and stuff. But some of those early customers, I would actually be curious if we looked at their SOWs and like what their level of expectations and work are, and what they pay us, and like we're probably still profitable even though they're spending a lot less than some bigger customers, probably because of just expectation and workload and what we do for them, right? And like what they signed up for. And then you have like customers who are the opposite of that, who are whatever they signed up for, their expectations are way higher, and so they ask for more and more stuff for free. I think it'd be really interesting to look at those and see if we looked at those SOWs, if anything stands out to us as to like, did we used to offer, in other words, like we sold the copper wire for $50, but people expected $50. Now it's $150 and they expect $150 because it's triple the price, right? Does it massively raise expectations and therefore like way less profit? So I think that would be really interesting to look at too, is like just some of our historical longest lasting clients and why have those clients stayed for so long, right? Because we have clients who've been with us for like 8 years. It's like, why has that client been with us so long? And then you get another client who only goes for 2 years, and it's like, why? Right?
There could be, yeah. And one other thing we should consider is there could be some survivorship bias, because we could have sold that same exact SOW to like 30 businesses, and then statistically there was going to be one or two that that were the right personality blend, and they just stuck with us. So it may be more of like the volume at which we sold it versus the characteristics of the SOW. Just like obviously we were selling like the same thing around that time, so a lot of it, but a lot of those clients churned too, like without lasting years. So actually, like, could our clients last
that's
years,
interesting. Survivorship bias.
Yeah, like could it just be that like, yeah, the clients that last for years are just like, if we sell a certain volume of clients, there's just a consistent percentage of them that are like very loyal to somebody that produces results, and they're just trying to hang around, and they're stable businesses that aren't getting acquired or like constantly rotating like marketing management. Possibly. So it could be either. It could be causal, or it could be just like a statistical artifact. But I think it could be either.
Okay, so I agree with that, and I think we should research this more and like see what literature there is on there on like profitability of service businesses and kind of what drives the highest profitability. What's also interesting is if it drives really high profitability, it probably actually drives better customer satisfaction, because we know that the more somebody pays, the more value they feel from the program, right? And I actually really want to look at some studies that find out like a high monthly reoccurring versus a high one-time fee. If the high one-time fee is more palatable than the high monthly reoccurring, right? Mm-hmm. Because like just physically thinking through this, if you came to me and said, Tim, I want $100,000, but you got to pay, or Tim, pay me $8,000, $83.33 per month forever. I'm like, that's a lot. Versus, Tim, here's this one-time investment of $100,000. You get this, whatever, BMW, right? It's like, oof, okay. Well, if I decide to do the car and I spend $100,000, it's like, here we go. The decision was made. I spend the money. I get the car. It's done. It's like decided and done, right? Versus 83-33 forever. It'll take 12 months to get to the same 100K, but then it will keep going after there, right? It keeps going.
Yeah.
So is there actually more of a proclivity to not sign up because of a high monthly versus if I just give you a big number? Here's $100,000. Here's what it's going to cost for us to do the thing. It's $100,000. And they're like, okay, well, can I pay you monthly? No. Why? Oh, and here's why, right? We explain the problems, right? Oh, when you pay us monthly, we have to do all this work in the first 3 to 4 months and all the team we have to assign, and I have to hire the people. And then you could cancel out here. So we don't do it that way. But look, here's the best. Here's 50 pages of reviews of how amazing we are. But this is why we need you to pay us like this, right? So then you go back to the selling and the social proof and the scarcity and all that stuff. But it's like, you got to pay me for the thing.
So it's actually this is an interesting conversation, because I was having a conversation with one of my friends yesterday that is a nutrition coach, and
Okay.
so what he does is help people do cuts and bulks and stuff like that, and it's like a weekly check-in, accountability. They help pick your meals and stuff, and so he kind of blew up on social media.
Okay.
And early on, he took a lot of customers at he did exactly what Hormozi talks about, find the price that people charge, undercut, offer more value. He was doing that. And he said though, but once he's blown up on social media, he's getting so many, he has so much demand for his services that he's kind of just made the decision he's only going to go after the people spending more. Because when he worked at a previous company that did this, and something he noticed is when they increased their prices, the people that bought the higher price, got to their outcome way, way more frequently. And so he was like, I don't know if that's because the investing more money causes people to take it more seriously and be more accountable, or also if people that invest more money are more confident and they believe in it more, they believe it's going to work. But he's like, now all I really want to do is work with the people that are going to pay a lot, because I also will have way better case studies from them, because the people that pay less just don't get the result. So firstly, I think it aligns with the same perspective we see with marketing. The people that are willing to invest more are more bought in to it. They help us more. They're more working alongside of us to achieve the goal. So I think that's a takeaway. But then he was explaining his pricing, and I think it's really something he did that kind of aligns with an idea you're talking about. Is he does I'd never seen this before, but a 12-month commitment, 6-month commitment, month-to-month commitment with all different pricing tiers. So the cheapest is if you commit to 12 months. The next cheapest is 6 months. But you always pay monthly. You don't actually have to pay up front. It's just what do you commit to? So if you commit to 12 months, your monthly cost is lower if you commit to 6. So that's normal. But what he says is you can pause at any point in time. So when you commit to 12 months, the only thing is you have to pay me 12 months of that money, but it doesn't have to be in the same calendar year. So you could do a cut, for example, for 3 months, and then take 2 years off, come back, do another 6-month cut, then come back, do another 3-month cut. The key is you're committing to 12 months, no matter what, to get that price. So I don't know if that's actually a good thing for us to try or anything, but I've never seen that idea before, where someone's essentially buying 12 months of service at any time that they can, and as long as they commit to it, that's when they get the cheaper price. Not they are committing to
my concern with that. I like the idea. My only concern with his model is I think you're going to get ghosting, where you're going to get people who are I think when people decide to pause, I think they're out. Right? I don't think they're going to come back and actually end up paying more later.
He doesn't let them I think if you don't, I think the risk would be can you actually get those people to pay? They have committed to paying you,
right?
So how much effort do you want to put into getting them to pay.
Right. Because then it's like if like you've paid 6 months and the person's like, oh, I have to pause because I have to go do the thing and I can't do the cut right now, whatever. Like I'll finish this next year. I think a huge amount of those people will just never end up actually paying. You have to go chase them down. That would be my fear with that model.
I
right?
think that would add some burden, to finance, accounts receivable,
But I
planning.
think the takeaway though that you're saying, which I think is smart, the takeaway is like it's okay to have creative pricing models and structures based on how people commit, right? For us, no, that's interesting. That's an interesting idea, and I like the first part of it a lot. I agree with that. The more people pay, the more they're committed, the better results they get, and the more statistically they will say they saw value from the program. And we see the same thing, right? I think the challenge we have though, Paul, is it's harder to find the businesses to sell to. It's harder to get the bigger businesses, especially with inbound, because like we can't control it, right? So I think the risk we would have is if we just said, look, our minimum is 15,000 a month, we will sell deals. Like we get people at 15,000 a month. The problem is we will our total overall sales will go down probably because of the percentage of the leads that we get that can actually spend.
Also I think it like actually damages cost of customer acquisition a lot because like our team is meeting with people around the clock that are costing us wages and none of that revenue is coming back. Like today, that's what would happen.
That's exactly what would happen. So then we would spend $40,000 on ads and we would sell 1 or 2 deals, right? Versus selling 50 or 60 or 70,000 in MRR. So I think that's I think that's why for us, we need to have the like really expensive car, the like moderately expensive car, and the really good entry level car. And all three have to be profitable for the business, but it's very clear what's removed and what they don't get with each level. And then, I mean, we could do this just from a business size too, right? Where we first ask them like, how many employees do you have? Right? Or like, what's your revenue? And then it's like, oh, cool. Like if you're this revenue, we have these packages, this revenue, and that's what you have to buy, right? At this revenue, because this is what success looks like. And they say, well, but I want to look at other programs. Look, do you want me to sell you something that doesn't work? No. Great. This is how we have to do it, right? So we could also do it that way, because then if we're always trying to get the like maximum amount the price will pay at the size business they are, that those are very different numbers based on the size of company, right?
Yeah.
Based on the size of marketing.
Another way we could, I mean, like ultimately, I think what we're kind of discussing, like if we zoom out, is profitability essentially. Like how do we like become more profitable as we grow? Also, like we care about growth, not just profitability in isolation. Because like we could become more profitable just by like like moving other levers, but then it cancel out growth, for example.
I think. Yes, that's I'm really been focused this month on pricing and profitability and the intersection of the two of them, because it like really matters. And what I'm realizing is like pricing and profitability is a whole discipline. It's a whole strategy, right? Like there's a whole industry of just pricing strategy and theory and whatever. And like for example, this is from the book, Robert Cialdini's book Influence. I'm reading. There was this retail store. And she was in like Albuquerque or somewhere, or Santa Fe, somewhere in like the Southwest. And she was selling jade jewelry, like green jade jewelry. And she had like this retail jewelry store. And she sold to tourists. So her busiest season was like tourist season, when people would come, like wealthy tourists would come and they would come stay there for the summer or whatever. Anyway, and so she was struggling to sell this jade jewelry. And I guess she had to go out of town for something. And so she marked on, there's like this display case, the jewelry wasn't selling. And she marked on the thing, like she went to her person and she marked to like, make this half off, right? Like, please make this half off. Just get this stuff to sell. We got to get it out of inventory. And the person that got the note read it wrong and thought it said, make it 2 times, not half. So she just doubled the prices of everything in the display case. Okay. Because she read the note wrong. The lady comes back from the conference and all of the jewelry that wasn't selling had all sold. Like all of it sold. And she was like, what happened? So then she called Robert Cialdini. She knew him. She's like, can you explain to me what just happened? Like my stuff wasn't selling. I doubled the price and it all sold. And he's like, well, let's talk through it and think about it. So they process through it. And he's like, who are you selling to? Wealthy tourists. Do they understand what quality jade jewelry is or isn't? No. He's like, well, then what they're doing is they're applying a previous rubric that they've used in their life to this product, which is quality typically costs more. So cheap stuff isn't quality and expensive stuff is quality. He's like, that's not always the case, but that humans will apply that rubric. Because he said when we're trying to make decisions of things, he said in today's world, we're so confronted with so many daily decisions, right? Do I pick up this phone? Do I not pick up the phone? Do I answer that text? Do I answer these 22 emails? How do I do this thing here? This person's trying to sell to me. My kids want to join this sports team. Like there's a million things we have to decide. So he said the human brain cannot logically process through all of those in like succinct order in an effective manner. So we lazily, just to save our sanity, we have to apply rubrics to things, right? And so like my phone rings, I don't recognize the number. I have to decide. My brain's like, oh, don't recognize the number, it's spam. So I don't answer. Even though it could be $1 million business deal on the other side of the line, I don't answer because I'm like, it's probably a guy calling about my car warranty. What he said happened is the jeweler, the people come into the jewelry store and they see the prices are cheap and they're like, well, it can't be good. And I don't want crap jewelry. So they leave, right? But they don't know. They have no idea about the quality because they just don't know. And then they double the price and feel like, oh, wow, this is really expensive. It must be quality.
Really
and they buy it.
Yeah.
Right. And so where that comes into play is if you have somebody who truly understands jade jewelry and they look and they're like, this is way overpriced for what this is, that's way underpriced, and then they can apply knowledge to it. But it works really well for people who do not know. A high price will make them feel like it's valuable. And these are wealthy tourists who are looking to spend money on jewelry. So it's target market.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about cars too, like if you like had no idea like Toyota versus like Ferrari versus like Mercedes, BMW, and someone just showed you those cars and you had no brand association, no cost assumptions, like the Toyota, someone could price the Toyota at like a higher price than all those other cars. And like, if you didn't know, like if you didn't have these like mental shortcuts, associations with the brand, you could easily just pay way more for the Toyota. Like the Toyota drives fast. It gets you from point A to point B. And then like, you might be like, oh, it doesn't look as cool, but maybe this is like the new look. It's like the, Tesla Cybertruck. Like,
right.
So, but yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
So what I think I realized from that is like, if we just, it's not as simple as we just double the prices and all of a sudden everything will sell, right? If we double the prices for people who consider themselves like a savvy buyer of business services, right? They're going to now dig in and be like, why is it double the price? What is that thing? And they're going to ask all these questions and whatever. But like if just across the line, if it's like you see two prices, this one's $1,000 and this one's $5,000, you're going to assume the $5,000 SEO is probably better, right? Now, not necessarily, but you're probably going to assume it's better, right? So I think there's pricing there, but then there's a conversation of like, how much do people want to pay and how much will people buy? And then if we make the price too high, the margin actually goes down because fewer people buy it, right? So I think we need to like really, that's what we need to probably research is where is for agencies, where's that bell curve of the most units sold at the highest gross profit versus the really, really expensive thing over here, but it's really too hard to get leads. The really, really, really cheap thing here, but it's so cheap, it's hard to actually make enough gross profit because whatever. It's probably somewhere here in the middle where the win is, to be honest, is my guess.
Yeah. Yeah, because like if we're buying all the leads and we're investing all that money and we don't sell like any of it, right. That's a negative for us too. And also like kind of to the earlier point, like there might just be a percentage of clients that we sell that we need to get more clients in the door because a percentage of those are just like long-term loyal clients, like that will work with us for forever. So if we're not selling and acquiring those, we never end up with those really great deals. Right. So yeah, I'll run a deep research and just see, because I bet there's all sorts of data on like, like even Hormozi talks about like the price points that are like that kind of like plateau a company. So there's probably when a PE firm buys a digital marketing agency, they have a lot of research to make decisions on like how to change pricing.
Yeah, and just what should our pricing model be now to take us to the next level, right? I think that's the other question is like, if we want to go to this next level, what does the pricing strategy need to be? I think instead of it just being like, here's what we've done historically and what other people charge, I think it needs to be a lot more well thought out than that, is what I'm realizing. It can't just be like, we test this thing for a month and see. I think we need to actually analyze, look at data, think through the stuff. And then I
This is
think
a
we don't
fairly-
need to be so like married to this idea of everything has to just be a monthly reoccurring number, and that's the answer. I think instead what it should be is what is the work that needs to be done in what time frame, and how do we mark that up to make sure there's profit? How do we sell the most profitable thing we can, right? So honestly, I think that's the goal: is how do we make the most profit and win for the clients the most? If we can get the intersection of those two circles is probably where the best model is.
Yeah, so the thing I was going to say is like so pricing's pretty complicated. And one of the other, I think, really big challenges is that it takes a while to see the consequence of the pricing change. Like, did it help profit? Did it hurt profit? Did it help churn? Did it hurt churn? So it's like, if we're in this iterative stage where we're trying a bunch of different stuff, one, it can be kind of confusing to try for many people to like follow, and then for the team that's executing to like adapt to these different changes that we're making.
Right.
This is like where it feels like having somebody that just knows they know the solution would be really valuable. So this is like if we were to like, for example, go back into like the quarterly Hormozi thing or something, like they probably just have a big enough portfolio where they'd be like, yeah, this is the model that you need to use to scale. Because Hormozi tells that story about that one person that had a $2 million company. She like took his initial advice, grew it to 10 million, and then they met at 10 million, and he's like, yeah, the model that you've built this whole thing on cannot go any further than you've built.
Oh, that's right. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, that's just the thing. Like, the pricing stuff's so fundamental, and getting it wrong is so consequential and costs time. It would also, so I think like some preliminary research could be good, but it's also one of those things like we should think about, like, is there a way we could, get the answer to it without so much like kind of trailblazing it. And it may
Right.
not be one of those ones that you can. It may just be that like our business is our business, and there's a lot of uniqueness to it, and we need to just figure it out ourselves. But it could be one that we could shortcut.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right, guys, that is the time we have for today. Got to jump to the next meeting. So very interesting conversation. Let's follow up. Let's go do some research on pricing, profitability structures, and what we can learn there, and what research has already been done that we can glean from. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Yes.
See y'all.